start off, I would say the electric vehicle whole journey started in India with the country launching the National Mission on Electric Mobility in 2013. And since then, there have been various policy announcements over the due course. From an operational standpoint of view, I would divide the presentation into two halves. So I here represent an Ola Electric. Most of you might not know. So Ola Electric is an energy infrastructure company. We are committed towards building the charging and swapping stations across the country and are separate from Ola, which is a ride-hailing company here. However, what I'll talk about today is the learning experiences that we have over the past 2.5 years. Ola started, the ride-hailing company started the country's first multimodal pilot project in Nagpur. We have quite a few learnings, and now we move on to Gurgaon and setting up an Ola Electric as the new company, and I'll also talk about it somewhat later. So we wanted to study Nagpur. I would say the prime reason for choosing Nagpur was it provided us the controlled environment. The average trip length was around 9 to 12 kilometers, implying that I do not need a very dense network of charging stations. And moreover, we have been listening that the Indian temperature conditions are quite different. So we wanted to understand how the battery behaves when the temperature hits 50 degrees centigrades, how the driver partners adopt the newer technologies, whether the consumers adopt those technologies or not. So with all these experiences, how the charging times particularly getting affected by the temperature. So till January 27, we have almost covered served 3.5 lakh customers and clocked over 7.5 million clean kilometers and saving around 1,230 tons of carbon dioxide. I would say how we gone about operationalizing it. Initially, we had to roll out incentive structure for both the driver partners and the consumers. So for example, you might have learned Ola Play. Ola Play is a connected car platform. We provided those services to the consumers in Nagpur at a fare of, say, micro or mini category. So that was an incentive to the consumers that they choose a cleaner ride compared to the conventional ones. Similarly, we also installed slow chargers at the driver partners' homes and created a dense network of charging stations. Even went on to electrifying the first fuel pump in the country in partnership with IOCL. And second, I would say that EVs have been, there have been much debate that there are a lot of operational gains on EVs which could offset the high capital cost. However, what we've seen in Nagpur that when the temperature goes up to 50, 55 degrees centigrades, it not only the operational gains gets diminished because it consumes 50% more electricity, even the charging times for fast charging increases from around 2 hours to roughly around 3.5 hours. And this is what we captured here as to how the charging times, so you see the slow charging time does not get affected here because of the temperature conditions. However, the fast charging times are getting affected severely because of the temperature. Similarly, yes, there are a lot of charging companies here who have been saying that the utilization factor of charging infra has been low, and that is why the charging business at this point seems to be not economically viable, and that is why we see a DHI, the expression of interest that was recently rolled out. Even the ESL currently is eyeing of a 4% utilization of charging infrastructure, and I think that has been because that pushes up the land cost and make the economics haywire. So we really want to work around these structures, and plus that, how we mapped across is how the TCO economics, when I talk about rupee per kilometer basis, how does that work for a ride-hailing company when I use a diesel vehicle in my fleet and a CNG vehicle in my fleet or a EV in a fleet. Then we wanted to model as to when could be this tipping point around, when would the EVs would be at price parity reach, when I could break even, what could be the payback period around this. And given that the battery pack prices are expected to fall around by 40 to 45% by 2030, we modeled an ideal scenario where we assume that the delivered cost of electricity for EV tariff remains somewhere around 5, and the government has been waiving off registration on road tax and all those. So even if those I factor in, with the current form factors, the vehicles that we have from Mahindra or Tata, we are able to achieve a price parity somewhere around 2026. which which entice us to look at what are the other form factors which are ready for electrifications, where TC economics is much more favorable. We started looking at two-wheelers, three-wheelers, other forms of charging, whether battery swapping makes the whole business more economically viable because it helps. There are numerous advantages as well. So yes, the payback period for the although the payback period for a commercial use case is 5 years, and that is why you see the FAME 2 targeting the commercial applications compared. It's about 180,000 to 2 lakh kilometers, without factoring in the battery replacement cost, which might even worsen off. So for a fleet operator, I usually run around 180 to 200 kilometers a day. So you could factor in along the life of the vehicle. So we could discuss those assumptions, definitely. But then what we looked at, how does the TCO changes for the two-wheeler and three-wheeler segments. We found that the two-wheelers and three-wheelers definitely makes much economic value propositions and needs to be looked at, provided for the commercial applications, we are able to take care of the downtime. Because for a commercial applications, every hour that I spent charging the vehicle is a loss of revenue. So battery swapping, even for the commercial as in the private use case, was making a value propositions. And this comes from I think most of us attended the MOVE Summit. We are saying that all of us care about that. In the morning, Mr. Srivastav told that just covering a distance of 2 to 3 kilometers took 90 odd minutes. What we are saying is don't incentivize the purchase of a vehicle. Incentivize clean kilometers, incentivize the usage. And how do you do that? One option is battery swapping. Currently, the FAME 2 schemes only incentivizes vehicle fitted with batteries and not vehicle without batteries. At a time when the government or country is thinking of building those gigafactories in the country and thinking of localization at a scale, we say that subsidies should go to the expensive part, which is the battery in case of EV. And not, so manufacturing in vehicle without a battery is lesser expensive even compared to an IC counterparts today. So in Nagpur, we started off the battery swapping and we found that it's doable, efficient, and hence more successful. And this what we took in Gurgaon 9 months before. We started a second pilot, which is at our scale. We are running the 2 largest swapping stations in the country, just a kilometer away from here. I would say, what are the benefits? Everybody have been talking about. So what we need for EVs is dependable alternative replacements of the petrol pumps that could help me mimicking those experience. And I could easily replace my battery in just 2 to 3 minutes time. Battery swapping allows me that. It helps me eliminating my wait time for charging and thereby allows me to improve my run time. For instance, what we say that even for smaller form factors, just like e-rickshaws that have been predominant in North India for the first and last mile, around 4 hours of downtime they were having on a daily basis. Now, with battery swapping, not only their income has increased by more than 20 to 30%, this is what we have experienced in 9 months, it also helps improving the battery life. The e-rickshaws and lead-acid batteries, the battery needs to get changed after every 6 to 8 months. With lithium-ion and on a controlled form charging, we are experiencing that not only the battery life improves, but the battery performance also improves. Because in case of Nagpur, we saw that the battery life, because of the high temperature conditions, reduces by 1/3. And given that batteries are most expensive part of my asset, I do not really want them to die down early. Hence, what we are saying that there are benefits to the discoms in the power sector as well. The reason being, it helps the BSO, the battery swapping operator, energy operator, helps managing the grid better. At the time when the country is looking for integrating renewable energy into the grid, by the time we create a robust transmission and distribution network, a BSO would also help integrating these renewable energies into the grid, and hence might serve as a microgrid or a smart grid. Benefits to the service provider, I would say the biggest benefit that we are reaping is the land use. It reduces the fiscal burden, because with a small piece of land, I can serve a lot more vehicles compared to the park and charge solutions. And given that the urbanization is happening in India, the bigger spaces are hard to find. So battery swapping for smaller form factor vehicles, particularly two-wheelers, three-wheelers, makes the commercial economics work there. and would definitely generate more micro-entrepreneurship opportunities. For instance, shop model charging stations or swapping stations would soon come up. For example, you could soon find a Kirana store soon dispensing charged batteries. We are working with them, and sooner we have the shop model as well. I would say what we are, I'll just skip these opportunities because, so hence what we have drafted something called as a shared resolution on battery swapping, which maps what are the benefits of battery swapping vis-a-vis spark and charge solutions, and how could it accelerate EV adoption given the current stage of electrification in the country. Given that battery swapping is not finding its prominent place into the policy, be it the DHI, EOI, be it the Ministry of Power guidelines, or even the FAME too, we are thinking that such a model should be acknowledged because it holds the key for accelerating EV adoption in the country. Meanwhile, I would be happy to take any questions if there are. Just to remind us, from Ola Electric perspective, we have something launched called Mission Electric, where we aim to power around 1 million electric vehicles by 2022. Yeah. Yeah.
What, in your studies, how is the resale value of electric vehicle as compared to resale value of IC as per assumptions obviously are forecasted?
See, resale value is not well established at this point in time. It is only considered where we have an agreement with the OEMs that at this percentage of the upfront cost, the vehicle would be, we would receive a salvage value.
Okay, maybe another way I can ask this. What is the life cycle of an EV vehicle as compared to a diesel vehicle? How many years would you put it to it?
See, the battery life is around, battery life I would say is around 3 years. It's 3 years. After every 3 years, you need to change the battery for commercial use applications because we put in more kilometers on a daily basis compared to a private use case. Now that would allow you to segregate. For example, if I put in for a personal use case only 50 kilometers a day, my battery would last longer, and hence the TCO economics would be other ways. For commercial applications, putting 200 kilometers a day, implying that I need to change the battery more often compared to a private use case.
And so, Ola Electric is setting up an infrastructure.
So Ola Electric, yes, is an energy infrastructure company and not a ride-hailing company.
And you're focused on two-wheelers right now?
We are focusing on smaller form factors, which includes two-wheelers, three-wheelers.